being strong enough to stand in the middle of a storm and being willing to hold on to a loved one tight and keep them still as the torment blows all around them, and knowing that you don't know when the torment is going to stop.
Welcome to another episode of the Burnt Chef Journal, hosted by myself, Chris Hall, the founder of the Burnt Chef Project. This week's guest is Emeka Frederick, who is the owner of Chuku's, a Nigerian tapas restaurant. He's what a legend, great guy. I could have spoken to him for a longer period of time. Very profound views on business, life, mental health and well-being. And to be honest with you, again, as with all of these guests, each one brings a slightly unique and different view of looking at the industry and the subject of health and well-being. And, without these guests, this podcast couldn't be possible and we wouldn't be able to bring you this content. So thanks, Emeka, for joining me this week, and I really hope that you enjoy this week's episode.
On the surface, we at Lamb Weston are a leading global frozen potato product provider, but hospitality is in our roots. We are helping to chip away the stigma of mental health in the industry and truly believe in well-being through potatoes, which is why we are in full support of the Burnt Chef Project. If you want to find out more about how we provide well-being through the humble potato, or try a free sample of our award-winning products, such as our proper British chips, the Dukes, follow us on Instagram at Lamb Weston UK.
I just wasn't connecting Chris and just, I don't know, because I don't know what I read KRIS as. Like, I don't know why.
KRIS.
I don't know. There's only way you have Chris. Oh, Chris. Like, it was just such a donut moment.
So I usually start these conversations, literally, the floor entirely yours. Just explain to the listeners sort of who you are, how you found yourself in the world of hospitality and what it is that you do.
Wow. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. I always really love these conversations because it's a time to just reflect on your own journey, really. But yeah, so I'm Emeka Frederick. I'm the co-founder of Chuku's, the world's first Nigerian tapas restaurant. I'm super passionate about rewriting the global narrative around Africa, and at the same time changing people's mindsets, principally to try to help them master their self potential, or master one's potential. And actually, the restaurant was kind of part of my life mission in that sense. Taking food, cuisine, culture as one way, I feel that we can have a better representation of Africa. And I start with the country that I know best. I can't do it complete and utter justice, but I'm a student of my culture, alongside my sister who I run it with. And at the same time, then in terms of shifting mindsets, getting people to dine out, enjoy, celebrate Nigerian food that they haven't already done so before is actually kind of like my first kind of, I suppose, step of kind of demonstrating actually to myself that I can actually help people change their mindsets. And there's a lot of things I would like to, when I project forward, where I like to become 80 years old, there's a lot of kind of change I would like to leave the world with. So this is the kind of, I suppose, the first life module for me. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's class. And so how long has the restaurant been going for?
Yeah, so we opened our brick and mortar site at the beginning of January of 2020, not January, February 2020, which was brilliant timing because there was then this global pandemic
Oh,
a
man.
month later. So it's been a super challenging year, but we've actually been going with the restaurant now 5 years. Over 5 years now. 5 years at the beginning of 2021. And so we had a long kind of incubation period as a pop up, which was slightly enforced, in the sense that, self-enforced, should I say, in the sense that my sister and I didn't come from a hospitality background. So prior to starting out with Chuku's, my sister was abroad teaching English in other countries, and I was a strategy consultant in the city. So it's funny because so many people were like, "Oh yeah, that's why you can do business." And I was like, absolutely not. The kind of the work that I did, yes, there was some good transferable skills, but it didn't prepare me for the life of entrepreneurship, and it certainly didn't prepare me for the life of working in hospitality. And I think my sister and I, we knew that we weren't prepared from the get go, and we hold the industry with a lot of respect. And actually, I hope we can kind of get into the conversation around that later on. And well, in terms of holding respect, it was a case of like, well, let's not just come in thinking that like we can just come and just nail this. Yes, we're smart people, but that doesn't mean there's not smart people in this industry, and not only that, who have got like years worth of experience and functional skills which you just don't have. So go and soak up, all that you can, learn from some great people, read, watch, just be a sponge. And so we were doing that for a long time alongside us actually training ourselves through, the pop-ups, giving us an opportunity to build a brand, giving us opportunity to fundraise and all that. So as I said, it was slightly self-enforced because we wanted that, apprenticeship that we kind of built out for ourselves. But at the same time, just by the nature of the process of learning what you're doing, finding a site, finding the cash, that itself took half a decade or so. So yeah, it's funny to be here like that long on, because I've actually now been doing this a lot longer than I was actually as a business consultant.
That's mad. And so why hospitality? Like, that's quite a radical change to go from a business consultant and a teacher to all of a sudden owning. I mean, I say all of a sudden, and it was obviously no easy feat. It takes time and resilience, but to owning a restaurant and trying to radically change people's views on how to dine out and their experience. What was the catalyst for all this?
So before leaving my job, I suppose I was actually already looking at a way that I could go and work out in Africa, West Africa specifically, and most likely I was looking at the likes of Nigeria due to heritage, as well as Ghana, again because English language. So I was kind of exploring opportunities and that, and moreover, like years and years ago, like my sister and I being young, we've been thinking about this idea of, having a Nigerian restaurant where just in an area where we would like frequent regularly, because we didn't grow up in the very midst of a Nigerian community in like the edge of East London and Essex where we were born and raised. So we were just a case of like, oh, it would be great to have this kind of place which was like super accessible, super like just known that people who are not necessarily from the diaspora could go in and enjoy it. So like there were these two dual forces really. Like we had this kind of like idea which had been kind of circling around for a while about a Nigerian restaurant establishment. I hadn't really kind of understood how it was going to be, and I was, as I said, having this idea about how I can orientate myself to be more Africa focused, in line with my kind of, future life missions and stuff like that. And actually, there was one conversation I remember having with someone who basically talked about my edge, and what they said, again, going back to respecting and industries or sectors, you can always talk about respecting the country and respecting the people there, because I had this idea that I would go out and go back home and bring back my skills that I've learned here and really be able to super help charge. I was like, hang on a minute. Do you think there's not people who are super intelligent, well-skilled, better networked than you already on ground who are trying things, trying to enact change? And it dawned from that conversation that actually my edge was actually being at the intersection point. My edge was taking the culture, taking knowledge from there, taking understanding from there, and trying to translate it to a culture that I fully understood in the UK, and trying to get that, I suppose, greater awareness, greater appreciation, greater love for the country and the continent, from my position in the UK. So that kind of dawned on me. And there was this Nigerian food. So at that time, it's just like, you know what, actually, let's actually push forward with this Nigerian restaurant idea. And I remember coming back from Nigeria. What year was it? It would have been Christmas 2014. And I was just on a plane, and I love traveling solo, because I know I've seen one of the questions you ask about, like, keeping yourself, I suppose, even keel or that. And for me, like, meditation is a big thing. And on a plane, when no one else is, or when you're traveling solo, no one else really like bothers you. And it's like, it's like 6 beautiful hours just to think about what I wanted to do. And from there I was like, I'm gonna crack on with this Nigerian food idea, this Nigerian restaurant idea. I'd seen like other entrepreneurs out in the country, and I was like, I'm young, but I can actually do this because I've seen it. I didn't know that I really could, because like most of my friends or all my friends, we all like professional services. That was the career path. Let's actually roll up our sleeves and do something a bit gritty. So came back and was like, just gonna get started with some dinner parties, invite some unwitting friends, and then just take it from there. And like literally it was step by step by step. Then it was the pop-ups, we did more supper clubs, then it was like a longer residency, then was another takeover, and 5 years later there's a brick and mortar site that you've been dreaming of. So it's been a very organic journey in that sense.
I resonate with your journey because it's similar to how Burnt Chef Project started. Like, you want to make a change. You like. So I'm not from hospitality background either. I've worked in hospitality now for 10 years, but my career over sales and marketing has been across multiple industries. And I fell in love with this industry and knew I wanted to change something. And I resonate with your story because it kept coming up, and eventually it took that moment that you took that plunge to be able to commit to that idea. And then you think, fuck, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I've got no idea how to set up a company. I've got no idea how to set up my own email address, let alone get it from an idea perspective to where it's turning over money. What did it feel like to finally make that decision and go, I'm gonna stop my career and I'm gonna go with this? How did you feel at that time? Do you remember?
Yeah, I can. It was about Tuesday, just gone 10 o'clock.
That's very specific.
Yeah, because I know exactly what happened. I know exactly what happened. I think for me, I'll tell the story, but just to caveat, like, my situation at the time, I was young in my career. I just secured a promotion like about 6 months before. So I wasn't gonna, and I was thinking, am I gonna go for the next run, which was probably gonna be around 3 years that I need to kind of commit to time. As I said, I was already kind of thinking maybe there's other opportunities. Maybe I'll stay, but there's other opportunities outside. and I wasn't committed in terms of, having dependents. I wasn't committed in terms of having, financial overheads as a mortgage or the like. So, I had this opportunity to kind of like step out, So when it happened, I was very calm. I was shaking, my hands were shaking, but with excitement. I was very calm at this and clear that this was needed to happen now. So I had this call with a guy. This is January 2016, and we were about to do our first official pop-up for Chuku's a couple of weeks after, and he was supplying some drinks, and he knew I'd been doing these dinner parties, and we kind of been mucking around the idea, and he said, when are you going to to step out and do it properly? I said, yeah, I got this. He said, yeah, I know, but like, when are you going to just like take the leap? And he said, what's stopping you? And I just didn't have an answer. And that for me was just like, fine, let's go. And so he didn't even overly push me. You need to do it. I was just like, I literally went back to my desk, and my hands were excited. I was like, wow, I'm gonna do this. I called up my big sister, and I told her, I think I'm gonna leave my job. And she was like, okay. And I called up my dad. I said, are you around in the city today? And just so happened, he doesn't usually work there. He was. So we met up for lunch. Not for lunch. So it was like an early dinner. I left work a bit early, and I was like, yeah, I'm quitting. And he's like, cool, sounds good. And that was it. Like, it was done. My mum tried to suggest maybe I should stay for a little bit longer, but I think she was also what she said made sense. It helped me just think it through a little bit more, position myself a bit better, but the decision itself was done, and within was it 4 weeks? Definitely, but it would have been within 4 weeks I was out, so including my notice period. So
amazing. I love that. Like, and certainly, like, as well, when you talk about certain events, like, for example, your father being in the city and he's not usually there, and you needed to meet him at quite a pinnacle point. The universe, hey?
Listen, I 100% believe in that. I 100% believe in that the universe, like, it's, as I said, there's certain topics you wanted to get into, but like, one of the things that's on my mind a lot is actually about like trying to tune out a lot of external noise, external stimuli, to be able to kind of like tune in to yourself, and also then the kind of the natural energy that you're giving off, other people are giving off, and there is just in the world, because like so many things just kind of like happen. Like I'll give you another case in point, specifically about the restaurant. We had this wonderful Grace Dent writer, and the thing is, it referenced me like several times. I was there at the entrance and kind of greeted her in. But what people don't realize is, typically my sister and I are no longer on the restaurant floor or in the kitchen. We have a team we're kind of management restaurateurs. The only reason I was there that day is because we had a number of illnesses. So like, what was like a terrible day, turned out to be this end up fantastic review. Like, if I wasn't there, she's not gonna get that same contact point with the owner. And the funny thing was, I had no clue who she was. Like this write-up came out, yeah. This write-up came out. And like, they were like, oh, so you, like, have you seen her? You were like, oh, Grace Dent referenced you. Like, I was like, what are you talking? I've never met her. And there's another guy, we had a front of house supervisor at the time who had dreadlocks. So I was like, she's obviously classic. She's mixed me up. Like, and then like, it was like, no, he wasn't that day. Okay, he was a shift. And it just like, I was like, oh, wow, that was her. And so for one point it was like, wow, that was so random. If we didn't have all these illnesses, if it hadn't been this crap day, I wouldn't have been there. The second thing was, I'm so grateful that we have, an ideology or that treat everybody the same, because I wouldn't have wanted to give any more star treatment than I give anybody else. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody should feel like a bit of a celebrity. That's like my kind of thinking, that when people come to the restaurant, let them enjoy really enjoy this occasion. So I think it's quite, natural Nigerian hospitable kind of factor. We just really want to just give. So yeah, but like 100% believe in the idea that, that things just align in the universe, and this idea about things don't happen quickly, but they do happen suddenly. And like over the last couple of years, I've just seen more and more, and it's kind of probably coupled in as I've kind of feeling I'm a bit more tuned into me and the world, of these situations of just like things just like happening like really serendipitously. So yeah, 100% believe on that.
I love that. Things don't happen quickly, but they happen suddenly. That's your soundbite right there, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks.
But it's very true. Very true. I was having a conversation with an ambassador of mine today who was out of sorts, and he didn't know why. I said, well, the answer's not going to suddenly come to you now during this conversation, but something will click in the next day, 2 days, 3 days, week, and it will take you on a completely different tangent to the one that you're on now, and it could be for the one for the better. But as you say, it will happen suddenly.
Yeah, I think,
but it might not necessarily be right now.
I think it's like abstractly, it sounds like a great soundbite, but like I like to use the kind of what's the word? Analogy? Yeah. No, I'm not sure. That's not the right grammatical term. But anyway, we're gonna go with it. Of just like a cup, just like filling up with water. And I think when you understand that it's like, okay, if you're filling up a cup of water with droplets, it is always getting filled, but it doesn't overflow until there's one particular droplet. I don't know if that's the thousandth or the millionth, depends on the size of the vessel. But like, and once that one little droplet, which feels like no more significant than any other droplets, happens, there's overflow. And it's like I think when you kind of like deep that kind of like picture, you're like, that's kind of how nature works. Can I apply that sort of idea and force to my own life? And I think it's been super helpful in understanding, one, that we may just need to keep going and be patient about this, and also just be prepared for that any particular droplet, any particular conversation, any particular event could be the most significant one, and you don't know. So treat them all with great care. Seriously, Sorry, I'm
100%.
getting way too excited with myself.
No, I mean this is your flaw. Like I used to think this is all a bunch of hocus pocus mumbo jumbo, right? I'm a science guy. I'm a data's guy. You need to quantify it, touch it, feel it, see it. And here I am talking about mental health and how the universe is a weird way of pointing us in directions. And I thoroughly believe. I mean, mental health. Yes, it's it's scientifically backed, and mental illness, but universe. 100%, 100%, and it leads me quite nicely onto the sort of the main topic of conversation and the reason why the Burnt Chef Journal starts. But just going back to what you're saying about taking little steps and accumulating, that doesn't necessarily have to lead to massive radical business ideas or anything like that. Sometimes it's a case of just getting out of bed and taking a step in the right direction in terms of dressing yourself and washing yourself. But a lovely segue, like what I did there, but it leads me on to the question about like what the subject of mental health and mental illness means to you specifically.
Yeah, I think actually really was a lovely segue. For me, is I haven't unfortunately suffered from it, but more directly. But I've been very close to siblings who have. It's just gutting not being able to know what you can do. But I think the thing the question I was trying to answer, what does it mean for me? I think that I came up with this idea of just being strong enough to stand in the middle of a storm and being willing to hold on to a loved one tight and keep them still as the torment blows all around them, and knowing that you don't know when the torment is going to stop. Like, I think that's for me been my experience with mental health. You know, it's just seeing someone, I said, this storm just enrapturing them and not knowing how to support. But then, as you said, knowing that all you can do is support for small wins. As you said, can I help you get out of bed today? Can I check in to make sure you're fed? That you're, can I make sure that you've gone out for your walk today? And I think that, there's at times people think like, that you're going to make radical change, and actually that's been a couple of things that those who I know suffer from it, they've actually been annoyed by, even the health professionals, about this idea that you're gonna get through it, you're gonna manage it. It's like, yeah, but like, am I? Moreover, even if I am, it could be taking me 20 years to get on top of this, or I never, in terms of being able to manage it, and in terms of being able, it's maybe never it's gonna go. It's something I'm gonna have to manage for the whole of my life. And so this kind of idea that, okay, it's something, and then like it's like losing weight. It's not like losing weight at all, and it's just super heavy. Sometimes I think to myself, like, I had like a bad day, and I just think like, I can't actually imagine how hard it is to have this heavy weight every day that I need to kind of lift up and control and manage. It's just exhausting. And I think if you can get that sort of picture into your head, not yours, but like one's head, that I suppose helps a lot more in terms of being able to support someone, because you can start to realize why they can't do certain things. They are absolutely exhausted consistently with it, and this weight, even in a good day, the thing is that it's been there, and through the night or through the day before, and so now they're tired, so just supporting them to managing their energies, taking a load off if you can, and also kind of, but then actually also trying to find the balance where they want to do things. It's not like you're going to stop them from, you don't want to make sure that, okay, if you're going to don't do any work, because actually that's actually helpful in terms of forgetting or suppressing, the energy or the kind of the mental illness that you're trying to. So yeah, for me, I like, it's, as I said, my experience comes primarily from just trying to support, and it's just gutting not knowing what you can do. And I think you do, as you say, you have to just focus on the very, very small wins. For me, like, in terms of not mental health, but I suppose what I feel like I could like talk more on is about mental resilience. As I mentioned about like mindset, and the two are very different. I think there is some overlap, but it's also very, very different. But I do think we have an opportunity, setting aside mental illness, which if you have, it's going to be a challenge could be a challenge at any day. But I think as a society, we have an opportunity to actually try to train our mind muscle, which I always see as our most powerful muscle, to be better every day. Like, I think I find it interesting to see so many people who like hit the gym, but don't like mentally hit the gym. Like, don't actually, take some time out to do some sort of mind training, whether it like some sort of meditation or some other practices, which there are lots of, to just feel kind of like stronger and more kind of capable of achieving things in their life. And because I do think at some level, some of the prevalence of mental health issues in modern day society is due to people kind of not being aligned with their true self. And I say some, like I'm not gonna. There's most definitely science at play, chemical, imbalances in people's minds or physically. But I do think that some situations have been exacerbated or caused by people just drifting away from that. And I think, like, especially like, people talk about social media. I don't think social media is bad, but ultimately it's heavy stimuli. It's really like when you stop using it, you realize, wow, like so I've stopped using it and I go on the Instagram. I'm like, wow, there's all these things like flicking, and like how much is my eyes and mind like taking in, and then so I'm no longer really, I can't be tuned in to what I really need to eat today. Do I actually need to rest there? I'm thinking, oh yeah, this guy says, oh yeah, like, go out and get this and that's like the inspirational quote. It's like, yeah, but that's not actually what I needed. Like, yes, I heard that and it might be a good thing, but today I didn't need that. And if we can find that, I'd say that reduction in stimuli, that extra quiet to kind of just try to tune into ourselves a bit more better and what we need. And I think over the long term, it could really be beneficial. I definitely feel less stressed because of some of the kind of like emotional management practices I've been able to do over the last few years. And not only that, I just don't think I would be where I am today if without them. Especially when it comes to managing people. And I say managing people not in the sense of like as a team leader. I mean managing like situations with other people. Did I flare up at that moment because I didn't take the time to calm my own inner chimp and try to understand that other person's perspective. So
the universe
so I
has
just
just done one of those.
on a number of things there, just ideas that are coming to my head. So apologies, I wasn't completely coherent, but yeah, that's just a few things.
Emeka, no, 100%. Do you know what? Again, yesterday I was sat here in the same spot, surprise, surprise, and I was having a podcast conversation with a Swedish sports performance psychologist. And he has no background in hospitality. He stumbled across the podcast from Sat because Sat Baines told him about it when he spoke to Sat Baines about wanting to get involved with working with his team. And he was saying exactly the same thing about emotional management. And how as in hospitality, he believes that emotional management is one of the key components to exacerbating situations, and that we as an industry perhaps don't practice enough inward looking, and looking at our inner monologues, looking at how we react to situations, why we react to those situations, how we're reacting to them, because we're quite a reactive, like certainly within hospitality, I think we can sometimes be quite reactive. We've always got a lot of different things coming at us all at once, all at one time. You're getting overstimulated on a daily basis, right? And so often enough, we don't get that opportunity just to stop and actually, spend time without distraction and just sit and process. And I think it was a fantastic point.
One thing I've been thinking about a lot during this lockdown is the age profile that of like my team, but I think the industry in general. It's probably, especially compared with where I came out from. The peers are usually younger, and at times younger with a lot more responsibility as well of managing other people. Like I was a strategy consultant, and I was 20. Let's go, I was 25, and I would have not really anybody under me. I wasn't a supervisor, so I was just doing my job, and I was reporting into a manager. And then maybe my manager was probably my age now, 30, early 30s, and had like 7 people under him. My general manager, and we're a small restaurant, has like 15 people. Around 15 people. He's not that much older than me. But then at the same time, if he's off and my front of house supervisors were in, they were I think they were all under 25 managing that team. So you've got like young people who have, just by the very nature of their own lives, trying to find settlement in their career, in their relationships, in their own self, who they are, trying to manage in other people who are trying to do. And it's like, I do think there's a lot of that's a reactive energy, because you haven't been through life situations which enables you to be more phlegmatic about situations, because it's happened for, and it's not the end. So I do think the age profile makes a big difference, and the age profile of how much you have to manage other people, and it's not just managing your own team members, but like managing another customer, and how many customers you're seeing each day and stuff like that. So I do think there's a bit of a responsibility. I think it's a responsibility myself. I take that on of trying to impart that mindset or emotional management. I do think it's important, especially if I'm going to be promoting people of a younger age into certain levels of leadership. They're not going to just need to understand the processes of my business. They're going to need to understand how to go about managing self and managing other people in relation to their self. I think that's super important.
Massively so. I think you hit the nail on the head with that as well. We've got it's not just a skill gap shortage, but we've got an age gap shortage where, a ripe old age of 35 or 40 in this industry is, you're one of the elders.
Yeah.
You've got through to the final leg. And I do think, it's a key point. Like we are looking at, and there's nothing wrong with the younger demographic coming into this industry, but we need to work as an industry to provide them with. We're never going to be able to give them experience, and I didn't find myself until I had a mental health issue at 29 and went through therapy. I was early 30s and I found myself and found how I wanted to be and who I wanted to be and how comfortable I was with that. So we're never going to be able to necessarily provide this on a plate to these individuals, but certainly looking at the skill sets that they have and the areas that they need, that we can provide them with tools in order to build their resilience, I think is important, certainly in management roles as well.
Yeah. Which is also funny because then us as management, are then also quite relatively young. Like, like I said, I go back to projects that I had, and the MD is 50s, definitely late 40s and 50s. I know we have 20 years worth of experience in industry, 30 years of work experience generally. Hi, what? I was just bored. It's great. It is when you understand it, like, oh yeah, maybe that is not the only factor, but partly at play. I love the youthful energy of my. I say youthful like as if I'm not young myself, but like they are more younger than me. So that this youthful energy from my team, but I also see sometimes their decision making, and it's just because the processes of decision making is not as maybe refined as myself. And as someone who's 40 would be probably even more so, So as I said, there is. I do think there's a responsibility for those who are of a management level, just to realise that actually, yes, you aren't the finished article, but you can do a lot to bring that other person along. Not just teaching them about the working, but teaching them about, as I say, managing self, trying to be the best version of themselves as well. So I'm actually I'm super excited about getting back to reopening our restaurant, because one thing that my sister and I didn't have when we were doing the pop-ups was a team. And I remember reading a lot and dreaming a lot about team building and how the team would be. And last year was just so difficult in that. When we started and we were all in lockdown, and had this now to try and keep everybody engaged when, one, you didn't know what was going on. Everyone, the whole, going on a restaurant, so society didn't know what was going on. And at the same time, individuals didn't know each other. No, they're just all new recruits. And yeah, they can have a laugh and a joke, but did they really trust each other? Did they really trust me? They didn't know. So this, over the last year, it's been great to actually get to know, my team members, but also reflect on some of the things that we were kind of planning to do, or how I was going to interact, and think, actually, I'm not sure that's how I really want to be a team leader. That's not really the way that I think we're going to build the culture that we're trying to build, So that's been, a blessing in the sense of being able to have that kind of reflective time when, we've not been at, helter-skelter pace.
It's a big question. It's this one that certainly from the Help Out Eat Out scheme, a lot of people struggled with, is how do you build in that team building, that overall motivation when you're knee deep in covers, because the general public's excited about coming back out again and trying some fantastic food that perhaps they're not comfortable familiar with. Like, how do you go about structuring that framework?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I think one thing we need to actually really look at the restaurant business model, because in a lot of other industries, management have an opportunity to be people managers primarily. However, in our industry, a lot of the managements are key operational people. They're running the floor. So you don't have time to completely run the floor, then input all the data for COGS, for the ownership, and then make sure your team have got their rotors, and then have to manage the other kind of issues that are arising, and try to impart this wisdom. So I do think I think it's the business model as a whole probably needs to be looked at, and how that then manifests itself in terms of pricing and costing of things. I think will be interesting to see, at least from our perspective. We're thinking about these things, because you do need to bake in time of managers where they're doing thinking work, where they're doing people development work. And if we're always just operating at this 100% capacity with no slack, the system very quickly gets broken. So that's something which is it's a really I don't have the answer, and it's something which maybe if you speak to me in 5 years, I'll be like, yeah, this is what we did, because we're at the very start of this journey. And I think one thing that I said it's been a blessing is having opportunities to start, and then in terms of the restaurant, but having this kind of mad year, which is also giving a lot of time to be reflective about, okay, how would I now actually try and do it? So, but coming back to actually try and answer the question, one thing we were fortunate, I suppose, is that we're not open like 6 days or 7 days a week. So that kind of builds in some kind of natural time to like reset. We've been using this time in the lockdown to actually have some of our first socials, virtually, and just get to know each other. I think also for myself, one thing I'm quite keen to do is actually just have more regular check-ins with my team. That's not like a performance management thing. That's not about, let's catch up on the sales. I mean, this is just a general check-in with them. And I said, it goes back to my understanding of, or my thinking of, okay, especially if we've got younger members of the team, that, well, actually, if they're having to try and move house and are struggling because it's the first time they've moved house, and there's some issues with the landlord, and that issue is not being managed, and because they're struggling to manage it, well, they're not going to be excelling in their job. So if there can be that conversation and that touch point, and I can understand that there's this challenge they're having with their landlord, and I can go, oh, you know what, you should get this letter from them, or you should speak to this person, and that can alleviate that stress, then they're going to be a lot better, team member. So I do think it's important for me, as I said, to kind of just have those regular check-ins. Yeah, as I said, I'm looking forward to seeing how we go this year, in terms of just trying to have a better culture and more aligned to what we were trying to do, which was like have this really kind of like strong family unit.
I love that. I like that a lot. It's yeah. Again, it resonates with me. I was Akhtar Islam was also saying the same thing about how sometimes you need to invest in your staff, just not necessarily in skill sets and for what they need in order to do their job more efficiently, but also life advice and financial advice. Like he was saying that if one of his young commies comes in with a belt on and it was 200 quid, and the guy was like, yeah, look at my £200 belt. Akhtar was like, why on earth did you spend £200 on a belt for? Like, it holds your trousers up. Like, think about what you could be doing with that money instead. I've built a business with less, and it's about educating. And as you say, if there are problems at home, if there's stuff going on behind the scenes, it's about how you can provide support for that, because ultimately, one, not only do you improve their performance and make their life better, but also you've got a strong member of staff who's willing to stick by you then because you've created that family culture. And I like that. I respect that a lot.
Yeah. One other thing that's I've been thinking about is just about sharing the resources. Like, I've read certain books, I've listened to certain articles, and one thought I thought was about having this like library, but I think also the other thing is just being attuned to the individuals, so that I could maybe suggest at chosen moments, a certain piece of information to go and read. And I say that because actually the other day, like one of my chefs, one of my chefs was asking about a new book that he just wanted to read. Just not even to literally learn something, just to have some new, a new adventure. And I was like, cool. I've got some, we've got some Nigerian books in the restaurant, but they're ornamental. They've been like, some of them have been in our family homes for years, and so they're not leaving. But I have lots of novels and stuff at home, so I literally went home and took a couple of pictures of the books that I had, and like he was so grateful for it. But like not only that, I know he's going to learn like a lot more about this culture, and it's aligned with his own passion around music and stuff like that. So as I said, I do think there's an opportunity just to see if you can be in tune with them, to then know at when to share resources, or to share a contact that can help them along in what they're trying to do outside of their job, because I know how invaluable that's been to my life. And I'm sure it's the same to yourself. There's one thing, just talking about being in tune with the things going on. One of my big passions is Liverpool Football Club. I love the club. I love watching the games. Go into them when I can. And but critically, like Jurgen Klopp, he's been like someone I've been trying to learn more about as a management role model. And I say learn more about because ultimately you're only ever going to see the facade that the media portrays or that he portrays. So I can't necessarily get close to him. However, there was one quote I remember him saying that there was a left back, and someone hadn't informed him that his wife was pregnant, or in fact was having a baby, and he was fuming. He was like, why, how can this piece of information not be shared amongst our imagine? Yes, we know his heart rate and his ability to go, but how can you not know and be informing us that his wife's about to give birth? Like, just think about his ability to perform on that pitch that day. Like, he could be completely fine, but ultimately we should know, just so we can check on that. And that kind of like, did kind of stick with me, just how important those things can be, and like just trying to find a way. And it's a balance, because some people don't necessarily want to share that, so it's not about being intrusive, but being there as someone you can be, you can come and speak to and open up if needs be.
100%. Yeah. Open culture. There's no space for stoicism when it comes to achieving life's goals and progressing through life. Sometimes you have to speak out and open up, and it's creating a right environment to be able to do that on as well. So lush. So you've said you quite like meditation, you like solitude as a time to reflect and to grow. What are the sort of 2 or 3 things do you do to keep yourself firing on all cylinders and match fit?
Yeah, the building on that same theme is my gratefulness. I've kept a gratefulness diary for where are we now? About 7 years. I'm writing it every day.
Nice.
Typically at least 10 things. I use it to help me reframe negative situations. I use it to also just think about some very small wins, like, how that was really nice when I was in the park running, and then like I saw the dad walking his daughter, or like, you know, that was really fun. Like, just kind of find little things in the day. And also, like, as I said, being like, oh, that was really great that I had that argument with my mom, because that really upset me and made me remember how much I really love my mom, and I don't want to upset her again. Like, just, you know, like, rather than hold, and it really, like, sometimes I just finish it and I just go into my phone and just send a few messages, or people just like, that was really brilliant. Like, you know, just because you just taking that time to just be, you know, more positive about the world that I'm living in. And then I train regularly. For me, that's key. I've done swimming. I did a triathlon. Right now, my main thing is calisthenics, which will like kind of functional movement, and kind of using natural body strength and the like. So this morning I went for a run. So just keeping active and keeping fit for me is pretty central to my well-being. I feel a ton better when I've been able to train, and I'm pretty consistent about it being in the morning. Like, I don't really like training in the evening. I have my routine in the mornings. Tends to be try to get some exercise in if I can. My meditation, my gratefulness, and then I start my day. I also eat breakfast. Like, I've been religious about eating breakfast since a kid. And I remember I used to go to boarding school, and I remember these guys, they just wouldn't want to get out of bed because they just, like, want to have extra hours in bed. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm having breakfast. I can tell you on one hand, in the 5 years I was at boarding school, I think I missed breakfast twice. Like, I just don't miss breakfast. Like, why would I do that? Like, it sets me completely up for the day. Like, I think that's like my secret sauce.
Structure. Yeah. I like it, and I love the gratitude journal as well. Long before, like, I mean, I only became familiar with journals about a year ago. I think when Adam Simmons was saying to me he started journaling, so we went and got a load of Mise en journals published, and it wasn't until I actually started doing it that I found the benefits. And funny you should mention that. Like, today, like, the world, well, it was a stressful day, right? Today was stressful. The printer wasn't working. I needed to print something off to get PayPal working again because my business account had been shut down.
Oh.
And I had to print it, to sign it, to take a photo, to scan it, to send it back on. So it just wasn't working, right? People were emailing to say they couldn't buy stuff in the store. Printer wasn't working. And at one point today, I went, this is too much. And suddenly the day became too much. Yeah. And I could feel myself getting stressed out. Anyway, 3 hours later, the printer started working. So I printed that bit off, signed it, took a photo of it, sent it across, and PayPal emailed back within 5 minutes saying, yeah, it's all sorted. And all of a sudden, my brain was like, this day's a good day. And all of a sudden, all my stresses, they went. And it's so powerful just to be able to try and... that wasn't a good example for me saying, yeah, I let stuff get on top of me. And sometimes stuff does get on top of you. But to be able to start to train and point out things like you said, you know, thanks for that argument, Mum. It made me realize I really love you. Like, that's a really cool paradigm shift, isn't it? It's a perception tilt, turning something that could be deemed as negative into a positive. I like that.
I think your example was actually good, and the reason I say it's good because, like, just because I do these things doesn't mean things don't happen. I get stressed, of course. However, there's a reset. I've built in this reset mechanism, and because what happens is Monday was stressful, then I wake up and I'm kind of grumpy, so then I didn't train, and then Tuesday's worse. Then by Wednesday you're just like absolutely in the shit. Do you know what I mean? And so it's very much like roll over, but just by having that little check-in, it's like, okay, this is another day. I've got a real good chance of this day being a great day. Let's go for it. Like, that's how I feel. Like, and then people are like, oh, why are you so like positive, optimistic? Like, well, I've got 24 hours more. Let's go. Let's see what we can do. You know, yes, they happen. So yeah, it doesn't even, let's say, obviously there was stressful weeks and the like, but like having that reset mechanism for me has been like super helpful. And I think it could happen, that mechanism could be, as I said, it could be training, it could just be like you eat a certain meal, you have a smoothie, you look out at the sky or whatever, like you go walk your dog, but like just having that thing, not just having that thing which like you do, but also having that thing that you do, which it helps you reset, because knowing that you do it to help you reset means when things do get on top, then you're like, okay, let me go and use that mechanism. I think there's sometimes you just do things naturally. You're like, okay, like someone who walks a dog, it's like, okay, I just walk my dog. But did you know, or do you take or assign walking your dog as alleviating stress, so that when that stress happens, okay, now I'm going to go and walk that dog, and maybe I'm going to walk that dog even more today because I really needed it. Do you know what I mean?
Mental fitness, as you said earlier, and it's something we need to pay attention to. Do you know what? I don't know why. Do you remember that film with Leonardo DiCaprio in it?
Which one?
Was it Leonardo DiCaprio? Where, like in a dream, when they're in a dream, and the different levels of the dream, and they have this little widget that they hold on to. What's it called? Inception. Is it Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah, that was a sick movie, by the way.
That was class. Yeah,
really good.
Mate, I tell you what, that warps your brain if you watch that too many times. But that was their way of resetting, and what you've just done is touched upon a fantastic thing. And none of this comes naturally. Like, for anyone out there listening that thinks, yeah, it's all right, it's easier said than done, like, this is something you have to train for, and you have to start building as part of your structure. Because at no point, like, I used to be a horribly negative person, like, all the time, always. And it wasn't just days. Like, we didn't get to Wednesday and I was in the shit by Tuesday, and that carried on for a month. And it impacted and resonated. And I'm one of these guys who's I'm quite empathic, I've learned. So I can walk into a room and I can feel that room. I can feel, if someone's had an argument, I can feel things around me. But also in a similar vein, if I'm in a bad mood, I can turn that entire room round. And that I used to do that on a regular basis. I never got invited out anywhere because of the fact, don't invite him to the party. If he's in a bad mood, he'll ruin it. And you have to learn, you have to train, you have to practice these sort of things. They don't just necessarily come naturally. And neuroplasticity is a thing. And for anyone who wants to learn more about it, TED Talks, neuroplasticity, it will change your life.
My one is the Chimp Paradox by Dr. Stephen Peters. Just completely changed my life. 2014, I think I did some good things, but that really crystallized, this idea of my emotions and my crocodile brain, and just managing this chimp. And as I said, just kind of sets you down a path, because you start looking at other materials and learning about, okay, and then having this kind of conversation with Chris, you're like, oh, let me go look at this TED Talk that Chris is recommended, So but that was my intro.
Yeah, amazing. I'm one thing that's the Burnt Chef Academy went live this week, and one thing that I was very keen on having was a section whereby TED Talks that I found inspirational over the years, I've loaded up on there for other people to take advantage of. So they're quite mental health focused at this moment in time, but things like neuroplasticity, things about inspiring paradigm shifts about like the planet and how long we've been on this planet for, and it's like tiny minuscule amount. I'd like to upload on there as well, so it is just like a central resource hub that people can access and they can find inspiration on a daily basis. I bang on about TED Talks, but like it's 20 minutes from your day, and it could ultimately blow your mind wide open.
100%.
I love it.
That sounds like a good resource that I would look to share with some of my team, to be honest.
Yeah, just search anything and then type TED Talk afterwards. I can guarantee you, they've got so many, and I could talk to you about them, but I don't know if I would be using the right terminology for some things that are incredible. Play it down too much. Anyway, in terms of advice for someone looking to pursue a sort of similar career path to yourself, I mean, from the sounds of things, there a lot of people within hospitality listen to this podcast, so I don't know if we get any like strategy advisors or business consultants listening to this, but if you do, we're about to drop some bombs.
I suppose the advice, wherever you are, was kind of going back to the points I made before about like just taking it each step. Don't look too far up the ladder. I think also appreciate wherever you are and whoever you're there with, because you don't know when that person could be super, valuable to your next chapter of your life. I think that's something which has really helped me, not just from the consulting, but like, maybe I worked in restaurants, and then I just didn't try to do a good job, as best a job I could. Doesn't mean you make mistakes, and that reputation has then proceeded to then, and now going back to that same restaurant, but no longer as their waiter, but now as a restaurateur. And that's like, oh, can I speak to? Because I'm trying to get some knowledge about what how you run the restaurant, and they're open to having that conversation because they knew you were a good waiter. You turned up on time, and you were honest and hard working. And I think people see that, people see those things and value those small things. 100%.
I like that. So recently, we started working with a large hotel chain like Hotel.An and Malmaison Group, and they've selected us as their charity partner. And the head of HR there contacted me out of the blue to see if we could get involved with each other. The head of HR happens to be sisters with a lady who I once contacted about getting some T-shirts printed 2 years ago in Dorset. And we ended up getting on well. I never used her services yet at this moment in time. I do intend to. But just because of the fact that we took time to have a conversation and get on the same level and build rapport and, enjoyed each other's conversation, ended up getting a referral to the head of HR for Malmaison and Hotel.An, and potentially has ended up aiding the Burnt Chef project and the work that we can do tenfold. So
nice.
Universe.
100%.
Universe.
It's funny how sometimes I see people that they only want to see people as worthy of their time, or their kindness, when they can see that a clear alignment to what they're trying to do. E.g., okay, I want to, I don't know if this is hospitality, but let's just say, for sake of argument, I want to build a video game. I want to become a video game, builder. And there's this other guy out there who I think can be a mentor to me. So I'm going to be super kind to him. But there's this other guy who, he's just a chef, and I'm not really going to be, chat to him, or the bus driver, I'm not going to be chat to him. But then what you didn't know was actually the bus driver or the chef's dad is actually that guy's boss, the video guy's boss. And actually, had you been super cool with him, the chef, he would have introduced you to his dad, and he's the one who's actually going to give you the job. So it's actually it's so not a linear path more often than not. And as I said, knowing that kind of, I feel makes me feel a lot more free, because yes, I set the path, but it doesn't mean that I'm then rigid every day in what I'm trying to get there, because I know that it takes a convoluted route, and just stick to the principles that I have and the values that I have. As I said, don't look too far up the ladder. Just next step. Get this little bit more of information. Get this next extra contact, extra skill, and see where we go. Seriously, see where we go, because I think there's also a lot of luck involved as well.
Infinite possibilities. Infinite. And you think about how the world, how the universe was created, depending on your viewpoints and your religions, etc. There's so many small factors that had to come into play at the right time to be able to create life in this universe. And as a result, think about how many small factors and small touches on your life on a day-to-day basis it takes, and the right sort of right components. I think that you just have to. There are infinite possibilities to be able to take your day and your life in any particular way that you want to, just being open to them and willing to accept them when they come.
Absolutely, I love that.
So to round this off, the last question that I ask all of my guests, and I'm going to ask yourself as well, because I think it could be quite profound.
Gosh,
if you were to give some advice, I've created a platform now. That's it. If it's just be like, don't do drugs.
It's a really good one.
Shit. So if you could give advice to like a 16-year-old version of yourself, is there anything that you would say to yourself that would change the path you've on or encourage a path in a certain direction?
I don't think it would change the path. I think it would maybe make the path easier, and I possibly would be further along. And that's actually about, it's all kind of amounts to the same thing. Sleeping, actually sleep, actually rest, take time out. And as I say, it's not just taking time out to rest, but taking time out to think. Because I think at times I was so wanting to go, that meant, I didn't want to sleep as much. And then so I didn't want to think, and I was make bad decisions. And then you're kind of like, you're grumpy and it's like, just getting the right amount of sleep and realizing that I can't do everything, and I'm just going to actually have to let some things go. I think would have allowed me to, as I said, have an easier path to where I am now. And I think along that is I've always been tenacious, but I haven't been patient. And just this idea, I now have of being like persistently patient, and or patiently persistent, however you want to cut it. But the whole idea is that it doesn't mean you stop knocking on the door. It doesn't. You don't dull your tenacity, but you also just extend your timelines of expectations of this thing happening. Because that's actually a lot of the times where the stress, came from me putting under myself, or also under other people, and then getting angry that things weren't happening on the timelines that was happening. Now, if I actually reflect on that, things were always moving forward, and so I could have been happy and grateful for that, and cheering other people along for how they're supporting me along that. But actually, I was annoyed because my timelines were like there. Do you know what I mean? And actually, if I could just have increased that timeline, for the expectation of the unexpected things that are going to happen along the way, but at the same time, continue to be tenacious and continue to be persistent, I would have been a lot happier.
Told you it'd be profound.
Yeah, I hope that was all right.
That was lush. Thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot. I guess for the final thing then, just to round this off, is where can people find you online? Where is your restaurant? Where in the world is it? Where can we come and experience?
The time has come for me to plug. Don't log off the podcast just yet. Chuku's. We are in Tottenham, Seven Sisters in North London. We also do a nationwide delivery service as well. So whether you're listening in Scotland or Wales or South of England, East England, we can deliver to your door as well some of our Nigerian food and culture. So on the social media, we're at Chuku's LDN. That's CHUKUS LDN. Chuku's London.co.uk. CHUKUS London.co.uk on the website. Me personally, I'm also on social media at Frederick90, and you can follow me on LinkedIn or the like. Just search my name, Emeka Frederick. So that's us. That's me.
Okay, thank you very much. And just check Emeka out. And if there's anything else that you want to ask him about business, or about, I don't know, from anything else that we've discussed today, hit him up on social media, and when we're not taking breaks from social media, we'll respond. Hey.
Yeah, well, I think my email is out there somewhere as well. So and I do respond. I had some interesting questions And I do think, as I said, like kind of part of my mantra, like, if I think I've got value to add, and I can, I have the time, and then let me try and share, because I've definitely had a lot of reached out to a lot of random people, seemingly random people, and got some support in a way, and it's been super valuable in terms of just getting me along to where I am today. So if I can help, why not?
Good. Thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon.
Cool. Nice. Thank you very much.
Cheers, man.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Burnt Chef Journal. We'll be back again next week with another episode, but in the meantime, if you wanted to learn more about the Burnt Chef Project, please head over to our website, www.theburntchefproject.com, where we have a range of merchandise which is designed to create awareness. We offer training modules, we also provide support services, and also you'll find access to our online app, which is free to use internationally. Do feel free to give us a follow and a like on social media, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.